Okay, everyone. We are going to talk about theoretical probability. So today's objective is I can find theoretical probabilities. Okay, let's start with some key concepts here. So the probability of an event is what we're going to have to find. Okay, and so the probability of event is what we have to find, and it's going to look like this: the big P of an event. Okay, so what's going to change is whatever I put inside the parentheses, and to find the probability of an event, I need to take the total number, or I'm going to take the number of ways that the event can happen, and then I'm going to divide that by total number of outcomes. Now down below you see a chart that tells you, depending on what what you calculate as your probability, you can use this chart to determine if the event is impossible, or it's certain, or it's more likely, less likely. This will make more sense in a minute. So let's get through some examples. Okay, so you have here a deck of cards. And the question here says, what is the probability of pulling out a red card? So the first thing that we need to do is find how many red cards there are. Well, I know, let me see. These are all my red cards, and if you add them all up, it adds up to 26. There are 26 red cards. How many total cards are there? Well, the total amount of cards that in a deck of cards is 52. Okay, so now what we can do here is we can reduce this. 26 over 52 is actually 1 over 2. And we can change this to a decimal and say 1 over 2 is actually 0.5. If we take a look at our chart, 0.5 is right there. So what's the probability of pulling out a red? Well, half, or 0.5. It's equally likely to occur or not occur. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says, what is the probability of pulling out a heart? I'm going to erase this, and let's circle all our hearts. Well, these are our hearts right here. And if we add them up, we end up with 13 hearts. There's 13 hearts. And we're going to divide that by the total number of cards. Remember, a deck of cards has 52 cards there. If we reduce this, we actually end up with 1 over 4. If we change this to a decimal, it's 0.25. Now, where is that in our chart? Well, 0.25 is roughly around here. So it's less likely to happen. It's less likely to pull out a heart. Okay. When you do your homework, what you can do is you can take this information, put in the calculator to get your decimal if you'd like. I'm okay with that. It would be nice that you reduce it, but I'm okay with you jumping from what your original amount to your decimal. All right, so another way we can find probability is using a dice. So on the left-hand side is an example of a dice. We see this is a 6-sided dice. And if we were to flatten this out, you have your 6 sides. It's asking us, what is the probability, that's that P, of rolling a 2. So first thing is, we need to know, again, we're going back to the first slide. Says we need to find the number of ways it can happen. Well, how many 2s are there? There is only this 2, so we're going to say there's 1 2. How many are there in total? There are 6. So the probability of rolling a 2 is 1 over 6, and if we put that in the calculator, 1 over 6 is 0.25. 0.16 repeating. Now we look down here, where is this? We look down bottom left-hand corner, where is 0.16? Well, 0.16 is roughly around here, so it's less likely to happen if you roll a 2. What is the probability of rolling an odd number? Okay, well, let's take a look at this. How many odd numbers are there? Remember, odds are 1, 3, and 5. So 1, 3, and 5. How many are there? Well, there's 3. Okay, and how many are there in total? There are 6. So I can reduce that to 1 over 2, change that to a decimal, which is 0.5. And 0.5 is right here, so we're equally likely to occur or not occur if we roll an odd number. All right, last one. It says you have a bag that contains 6 red marbles, 4 green marbles, 2 blue marbles, and 5 black marbles. Okay, and we need to find the probability of pulling out a blue marble. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to put 6 marbles in a bag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 green. 2 blue. And 5 black. Here's my bag. What is the probability of pulling out a blue marble? Well, I know. How many blue marbles are there? There's 2. How many marbles are there in total? Well, if we count this, we end up with 17. So the probability of pulling out a blue marble is 2 over 17. We can change that to a decimal, which is 0.12. Now, let's take a look at the red. What's the probability of pulling out a red? Well, how many reds are there? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red. And how many marbles are there in total? There is 17. So 6 divided by 17 gives me 0.35. So if we compare this, we're more likely to pull out a red than we are a blue. Because remember, 0.35 is closer to 1 than 0.12. Okay, so the homework should be very similar to my notes here. If you have any questions, just email us.